experienced something I still can't explain. I was still living at home at the time as an only child. I didn't have many friends or any hobbies to speak of, so I spent most of my free time surfing the internet, looking for anything that could hold my attention. On the weekends, I would wait for my parents to leave the house. And, like most teenagers, I would use the alone time to browse through more devious content. On the night that this unexplainable thing happened, I was getting up to the same thing I always did. When I was finally home alone, I closed my door and drew my curtains, turned the lights off, and grabbed a box of tissues from the bathroom, in case I got a runny nose while I was watching what I was finally able to watch now that nobody was around. My parents said they would be gone all night, though I knew I could stay at it for as long as I wanted. Of course, that meant that there were quite a few soiled and crumpled up tissues tossed into the bin, but after a couple hours, I was pretty much drained and bored of just watching stuff by myself like I did every weekend, and I was starting to wish I had someone to talk to. Unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, I didn't have very many friends, and certainly nobody that I could call close. The handful of people I could think of to text never even read my messages, so rather than beg the people I sort of knew at the time to talk to me, I figured I'd have better luck with strangers. I had already known about Omegle for some time by then, mostly by watching YouTubers exploring all the different tags you can add to your search for new friends, but I'd never used it myself. I didn't have friends because of my social anxiety, and that bled over to video chatting too, which I wasn't super comfortable with in the beginning, especially since they were all strangers. But it was better than tossing tissues all night, and I figured there was no way I'd ever see any of the people I met more than once, let alone run into them in person, so I gave it a shot. Obviously, just like anyone else would see, my initial experience on Omegle was getting flooded by a bunch of creepy old men asking for my ASL. I skipped over all those myself off. I was still dumbstruck in the darkness and sitting on the floor, so I have no idea how long I would have let that go on before I came to my senses and skipped that psycho. I eventually picked myself up and left my computer alone for the night, deciding to get some sleep and see if I couldn't forget the whole thing, or at least put some mental distance between me and it. It was difficult to get to sleep after being so shaken up, but I did get there after calming down for a little while. The next morning, things almost seemed alright. I could still vividly remember the strangeness of the Catman, his annoying meowing and corpse-like appearance, but other than that, everything seemed normal. That was, until I stood in front of the mirror before stepping into the shower and noticed the deep cat scratches all over my body. In my freshman year of college, I still lived with my mom. It was a small house in Fontana, California, near where I went to school. I didn't need to live in a dorm to get to know everybody in my classes. That's what things like Instagram were for, and I was upping my popularity by letting all the people I met at school follow me. I kept my profile up to date with posts and stories every day, taking selfies from pretty much everywhere I went, whether I was at the movies, at a fast food place, in class, or even at home. That's just what everyone was doing, and I didn't want to alienate myself, but that's when I would soon regret that decision. One evening, after a long day of classes, I got home and did my usual routine of studying and having dinner with my mom. I eventually got into bed, ready to pass out. That was when I heard my phone buzz on the nightstand, right as I was on the verge of falling asleep. I figured it was probably nothing, but I reached over and checked the notification, just in case it was a text from someone important. Unfortunately, it wasn't. It was just Instagram letting me know that I had another new follower. I was groggy and could barely read the username, but it was something like @JonathanW, and then a bunch of random numbers and characters. That, and the fact that they didn't have a profile picture, made it clear that this was not somebody who went to school with me. My curiosity led me to check out his page, and so I did. I could see that he was following hundreds of accounts, but didn't have a single follower of his own. There wasn't even a bio or a link to anything. However, there were a few posts on his account. As I began scrolling, I noticed all the posts were of the same thing, a confusingly close-up shot of some kind of cotton upholstery stapled onto wood planks, like he was some kind of construction worker. The
contact. It was a DM from the same guy that read, "Hey baby." I immediately realized that it wasn't a bot, but an actual person. I decided to respond back. Admittedly, replying to him wasn't the best idea, but I wasn't thinking about the fact that to see when I read his messages after that. However, after a few minutes, he didn't respond with anything, so I put my phone down again and tried to get some sleep. I was just starting to doze off when I heard my phone. Yet again, this time, I ignored it. It annoyed me to think I was about to lose much needed sleep just to interact with some Instagram creep. I figured if I stopped reading his messages, he would get bored and move on like most of them do, but that wasn't the case. A minute later, there was another notification. My sleepiness was already spoiled by how irritated I was, so I checked it out with the intentions of blocking him, but what I saw made me realize that I was getting dragged into something far more serious than I had anticipated. He sent a candid picture of me at school. A chill ran down my spine. In the picture, I was in the outfit I was wearing earlier that day, but I had no idea I was being photographed by anybody but myself and my friends. He sent it with a caption that read, "Do you like this candid shot I got of you today?" All of a sudden, this situation was seemingly just a harmless weirdo turned into something far more terrifying. I didn't know what to do, so I sent him a harsh text cussing him out.
Who the hell are you? Leave me the f alone or I'll send this to the cops.
Then as soon as I sent the message, I blocked the account so he didn't have time to respond. I threw down my phone for the last time and tried to finally get some sleep, but I was so horrified thinking that I now had a stalker on my hands. I had no idea who he was or how long it had been going on, yet somehow I managed to put myself in enough denial about the whole thing and fell asleep. In the morning, however, I remembered everything. I told my mom about the whole ordeal before I left the house, and I could tell she was concerned for me, but also just as clueless as I was. I talked to my friends about it at school, but none of them have ever dealt with anything like this before either. Thankfully, when I got home, my mom had this idea of setting up a couple of home security cameras around the house. Neither of us knew what this creep was capable of, so she figured we'd have the extra measure of safety to help me feel safer. We made sure to put one of the cameras in my bedroom just before I went to bed for the night. I laid down and put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I was strangely feeling comfortable, like maybe nothing was that wrong after all. But just a few minutes after I turned off my lights, I heard my bedroom door creak open. I opened my eyes, and that's when I saw the man in his underwear standing in my doorway. I started screaming from the top of my lungs, and that's when the man suddenly lunged towards me. I began to kick and scream simultaneously, just to get the creep away from me. Thankfully, the sounds I was making were enough to make him turn around and run out of the house. My mom came stormed to my aid. We stayed in the bedroom with the chair leaning against the doorknob and immediately called the police. Somewhat unsurprisingly, the man didn't run very far. They caught him lurking in the neighbor's yard just a few doors down. We handed over the security footage to the police and told them everything we knew. And after a few days of investigating, we got the story they were able to put together. The man who snuck into my room was the same one who had been stalking me at school. He had developed an obsession over me and started taking pictures of me on campus, and then eventually started following me home. But the part that terrifies me the most was how he was never a construction worker. Those confusing pictures of wooden planks were just photos he took underneath my bed while I was sleeping in it. He had been sneaking into my house and hiding under my bed for weeks. All I know is that I'll always be on guard whenever a stranger sends me a DM or adds me on Instagram. I'm always paranoid if it's that guy again.